Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Catholic Homeschool Neighborhood. Today, we're excited to be joined by Laura Berquist. Welcome, Laura. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're going to get to your story in just a second. Laura is the founder of Mother of Divine Grace School. We're on a quest with you to help you find the best fit for your homeschool life. This Catholic Homeschool Neighborhood introduces you to creators and guides to help you thrive with your homeschool lifestyle. I'm your host, Dominic de Souza, a second-gen homeschool dad. Help us out, press like on this video, subscribe to this channel. So, Laura, I'd love to dive into a short story with you. How did you get into homeschooling? Because you've been in the business, in the game for a long time.
For a long time.
What's your story?
Yeah. Well, before I began homeschooling, I helped start a little school with 6 other families. My mom, Donna Steichen, who some people know as the author of Ungodly Rage, The Hidden Face of Catholic Feminism, a book I mentioned because I think it's well worth reading. And also she wrote another book called Chosen, which I love. But my mom suggested that I homeschool. It was her idea. And I just didn't think I could do it, what with babies and pregnancy and dinner. So instead, I helped start a small school. And I can't tell you now why I thought that was going to be easier than teaching my children myself.
Okay.
Not only was it hard to get the school started, the incorporation, finding the building, getting a teacher, setting up the curriculum, but I remember vividly hurried school days, rushing around the house, looking for shoes, trying to get those lunches made with cries from my children of, I can't find my homework. And we're having a test today, Mom, and I can't remember what my teacher said. And of course, I had no idea what her teacher said. And then we were off to school or to the carpool, and there were a few hours of relative peace in my house. Well, I did all the chores, and I straightened up the house. And then just as the baby was going to sleep, right, it was time to pick up children from school. And I really didn't like getting babies up from naps. After school, because you want everything that's best for your children. There were gymnastic lessons and piano lessons, and then we said the rosary, and then we had dinner, and then we did stories, and then we had homework, and then we had bed. It was, frankly, exhausting. When we couldn't provide a third level of courses in our little school, I began formally homeschooling. And I say formally because every mom homeschools from day one. But I began with my 3rd child. So, yeah, it was such a good time. We had so much fun, my kindergartner and I, that I decided my mom had been right. And we brought the 2 older children home for school as well. I just found that it was easier and more fun than I expected. And I just want to say this, once we all started homeschooling, I was dumbfounded to find out how much easier life became. Mornings were calmer. We all worked on the chores, which was good for my children and good for me. The baby was able to stay asleep when he fell asleep. And the children did their learning in the morning at the optimum time for retention instead of at night when we're trying to do this homework and everybody is tired and grumpy. Even better, in many ways, most importantly, we were able to go to daily mass together, which really mattered to me.
Yeah.
The other thing that I saw right away, which cemented my interest in homeschooling, was that my children began reading for fun, which they had not been doing. Until then, they just didn't, and I couldn't figure it out. I love to read. I always read. I read a lot of children's books, but my kids weren't. Once they came home, I realized that it had been because their lives had just been too hectic.
Right.
Reading requires a certain peace, a reflective attitude, and our lifestyle just hadn't contained those elements. Once we started homeschooling, they did. So that's how I got started. Now, I just caveat here, right? Because I don't want to create a false impression. I'm not saying homeschooling was easier in every way than school had been, and I'm never going to say that I didn't fall into bed exhausted at the end of the day. Because raising children is hard. It's hard. It's a life work, deserving all your gifts. But you have to acknowledge that it's hard. What I found is that it's easier when you homeschool than when you don't.
So
that's
tell us
all.
what you've been working on since, and tell us about Mother of Divine Grace School. That's your current program? That's what you work with?
That is, yeah. I started Mother of Divine Grace 25 years ago. Our mission then was identical to the mission today. We want to help Catholic families raise their children in a living Catholic culture. And we do that by providing Catholic classical curriculum and a variety of services so that families have options and they can determine what is best for them in their circumstances. We see our mission as supporting parents in their mission to educate their children. You know, the Catechism says, the Church is very clear about this, that parents are the primary educators of their children. They have the first responsibility for the education of their children. Now, the specifics of what that looks like in each family is going to be different because each family is unique. Now, it is our view, it is my view in particular, that classical education is Catholic education. They both have identically the same goal, which is the knowledge or vision of God, though not in the same mode. But, you know, St. Thomas, in his commentary on Boethius' De Trinitate, talking about education, he takes it as a matter of course that this is how it works, right? He says you start by studying the liberal arts, so the trivium and the quadrivium. So that would be grammar, rhetoric, and logic, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. You do that because you want to be able to do the sciences, right? Philosophy. So the study of nature, the study of the soul, the study of ethics, the study of the politics. Those are like foundational philosophic sciences. But those are ordered to metaphysics beyond nature, you know? And I mean, of course, for Aristotle, that was it, right? Like that's the end. But even in Aristotle, which is just so amazing, in the metaphysics, he says that the first cause, whom he calls God, the first cause is a thought thinking itself. And, you know, he doesn't start out to get there. He doesn't have revelation, right? It comes about as a result of the study of nature and the soul that he comes to see that. Well, St. Thomas, in the commentary on Boethius' De Trinitate, says, okay, so you've got metaphysics, but then all of this study is ordered to sacred theology. That is the knowledge of the noblest and the best, the knowledge of the cause of all that is. It's the knowledge of God, right? So all of, this kind of triangle of education is ordered to knowing God. God is also the final goal of our lives as Catholics, right? It's the final goal of all men's lives. We want to see him even as we are seen, not in a glass darkly, but face to face. We want to have the beatific vision, which is to know God directly. So of course, that's better than the knowledge we can come to, in this life with our intellect, but it's the same object, right? And it's the best thing you can do with your life. It's the best thing you can do with your intellect. It's the goal of classical education, and it's the goal of Catholic life. So there's this beautiful interweaving of those goals. So I want to help. I mean, it is my goal to help each individual family achieve a Catholic classical education for their children. We want to be partners with our parents to shape their children according to the stages of formation, which just means the way their minds work naturally as they progress through their intellectual development. We are really ordered to helping families build their own strong familial culture, because we think it's really important.
It's beautiful. So now I've got to ask, how did you build a curriculum? I mean, so that's the foundation. That's the vision that we want to impart to our children.
Yes.
How did you build a curriculum? Or is that just something that you kept ironing out over time and layering on?
So I'll say this. We add to the curriculum in Mother of Divine Grace. Of course, there are a lot more people involved but the foundational order was something my husband and I came up with at the beginning. But there was many years, like minimum 10, of I like curriculum, I like buying. Yeah, I do. I like buying stuff and looking at it and seeing how it works and thinking about how you would implement this. I like that. I think it's fun. And so I bought a lot of curriculum, and I had, 6 little guinea pigs. And I didn't see at the beginning what I came to see clearly, which is that thing about the stages of formation. It's really true that little children, like up through 5th grade, like they want to retell. They're ordered to developing. I mean, this is longer than our 15 minutes is, going to be good for. But they're ordered to developing certain powers of the internal senses. So I went to Thomas Aquinas College. The De Anima was one of the most interesting books I have ever read in my entire life. And in the De Anima, you have this explanation of how we come to learn, which, I'm interested in. And I saw this played out in my kids, right? I saw, oh yeah, when they work on sequencing, when they work on observation, when they work on memorization, which is what little children want to do. And you can try, as I did, to move them to analysis, because I think that's the most interesting thing, but they won't move.
They're not ready for it, yeah.
We're not ready for it, exactly. But they're really great memory skills, really good at retelling, really good. And their observational skills are way better than ours. That's because that's what God intends them to do. They're developing their internal senses when they're doing that. Then you see, so, right, I'm like, I hope I'm not the only person, but my oldest child, begins to say, hey, Mom, I think this book is pushing a point of view. And I think, oh, there we go. She's analyzing. She's, like, look what I've done. That's what I thought. So dumb. And then the next child at the same point says, Mom, I'm seeing that, these books, these family books that I'm reading have a consistent theme. Yeah, after the 3rd child, I said, oh, this is how they work, right? This is just, it's built in. But then you say, okay, so I'm developing curriculum for my children. I'm going to make sure that starting then, I'm going to have an analytic component to everything we do. So if you look at the Mother Divine Grace curriculum, everything from kindergarten through about 5th grade has a either sequencing or retelling or a memorizing component. Everything from 6th to 9th grade has an analytic component. Everything from 9th through 12th has something where we're focused on the ends of rhetoric. So, the ends of rhetoric are 3. They're the political, the forensic, and the ceremonial, which, political means like, is this, it's expedient or inexpedient? My kids always said smart or stupid. The political has to do, the forensic has to do whether something is just or unjust. And the ceremonial has to do with whether somebody is blameworthy or praiseworthy. What you find when you're working with high school kids, and I had 6 of them to work through, those are the questions they care about. You want to get your high schooler talking? Frame your question around those ends, and they will talk. They care passionately about whether something is just or unjust. So over time, I saw that there are these like stages in the kids' intellectual development. And like I said, I like curriculum. So I started developing, these books work really well for working on those methodological goals. And these books work really well for working on those methodological goals. And then these, for the older kids. Additionally, I did have a couple of like other things in my back of my head that I really wanted my own kids to understand. We live in a tumultuous time with regards to law, government, right? And it was true then, it's truer now. I wanted my children to understand the nature of government. I wanted them to know St. Thomas's definition of law, an ordinance of reason for the common good promulgated by him who has care of the community. I think every kid in the United States should know in the world should know that definition, because we're all going to be faced with situations where we have to evaluate and say, is this a law? What kind of moral, what am I trying to say? How obligated am I morally to follow or not follow this?
Yeah. So raising conscious, intelligent, analytical
exactly
children, young
right.
adults. So
right.
You've probably already started answering then this question. What are the kinds of families then that you have found have really resonated, really thrived with your program, versus those who don't do as well? What's the kind of person who just absolutely loves Mother of Divine Grace?
Yeah, what I would say is that our program is best for families who really want to educate their children holistically. What does that mean? They want to be involved, and they see the education as just a part of life. It's not something you get past. It's not a checklist that you just, okay, I did those 3 things, I'm done for the day, I'll go on with my life, I think that we work best with people who, think this is interesting. They think they enjoy the educational adventure, and they want to share that with their children. We're serious when we say we partner with parents. I regard the parents as the teachers. I mean, we provide lesson plans. We provide an educational consultant who can help you determine what's the best thing for your family, who's done this program in her own home with her own children, so she has experience. We provide various levels of services, so we have one-on-one classes that you can meet with your teacher once a month, you can meet with your teacher twice a month, you can meet with your teacher every week. We have synchronous online discussion classes that meet mostly once a week, but some twice a week. We offer all the levels of service I could think would help moms to do this. But if the parents aren't involved, it's not going to work. It's just a fact. So,
how do people find you, Laura? Where can they learn more about this program and you?
Yeah, so, motherofdivinegrace.org on the internet. And we love to have people call. I have a really, truly lovely staff of people here who are eager to talk about Mother of Divine Grace and what we do and how we can help. And I think I can say this honestly, it's a passion throughout the school. We really just want to help Catholic families raise their children in a living Catholic culture.
That's beautiful. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap, Laura. If you had 1 minute to share a message from your heart to other homeschooling parents, not so much about the program, but encouraging them from one mother to another, what would you want to say to other families?
That's a very good question. There are many things to say, but what comes to my mind and heart immediately is educating your children as part of your vocation as parents, because all parents are the primary educators of their children. And this is evangelization. Homeschooling is an opportunity to directly form your children in your familial, intellectual, and religious heritage. When Mother Teresa was asked how she was able to accomplish so much for Christ, she said it was by doing daily what was in front of her to do, in front of us as moms. What lies immediately there is the task of intellectually and spiritually forming our children. This is the greatest work that can be done for a soul well-formed, and living according to that formation will see God face to face. Homeschooling is the natural way to accomplish that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Laura. And thanks for those who are catching this episode. If you enjoyed it, please hit like on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and share this with the one friend that you think would really like to see it. Then come and join us in the free homeschool community on CatholicHomeschoolCommunity.com. Thanks again, Laura. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you.
See you in the neighborhood.